again, I'm Krzysztof Pawski. I'm from Mobile Core area, from Apple Pie team, and I have to confess something. I've had a really wrong assumption when deciding on this topic for the presentation. I was sure that Android development is all about streams, or so-called coroutines. Well, why? I've had an experience with working in two teams where there were Android engineers and they were using streams. So my idea, my thinking was proven in 100% of my experiences with Android engineers. So I decided to buy a book about Combine to learn this way of programming because apparently it's something cool, and we are not doing this in iOS, right? Yeah, so here, thanks to Dominic for this idea and motivation. Finally, I managed to read some iOS-related book to the end. Yeah, so it was nice. Yeah, so about this streams. So I had this idea that I will show you a slide, and I will show you that there are like hundred thousands of imports coroutines in Android repo and just few imports of Combine in iOS repo. But well, such a surprise. That's exactly the opposite. And probably some of imports of Combine in iOS repo are because of SwiftUI is so heavily depending on it. And some engineers are importing Combine using this observed object and published property wrappers without broader knowledge about Combine. But still, there are some nice examples of using Combine in our project. Yeah, but not everyone still is using it. And I would say that there are not so many modules where it's used. So I decided to prepare for you some practical introduction to Combine. So you can maybe find something interesting for you and apply it to your daily work. Yeah, so let's start with the tale number one. Um, I'm sure you know those guys, right? Those are Donald's nephews. They are full of energy. They love adventures. They are looking for them everywhere, and in fact, they are looking for many things. So I guess they could make a use of some search engine. So let's see how Combine can be used in context of a search. So we have this basic search feature. We have such requirements like we want to display items depending on the text that has been entered. We want to debalance network calls so we not overload server. We don't want to send requests like each letter appears in the search. Um, it's kind of obvious, I guess, but we want to perform network requests on the background thread, and we want to update UI on the main thread, and we want to receive errors to our custom one because there might be like network error, decoding error, or something. We want to have our own that we will just use in the UI. So first, let's start with the traditional approach. Okay, how would we implement this? We would have this view controller, text field. We need to register for notification like editing changed. And we need to pass a function with this ugly Objective-C annotation. I don't know if you like it, but I'm not. But we need, for this old API, we need our code be to dynamic. And in our case, we are just calling view model because we don't like massive view controllers, right? So let's see how it looks in view model. In view model, we have our function text changed. We have our dance with dispatch queues because first we need to switch to the background, then we need to switch back to the main. In the meantime, we need to call our service to fetch some items. Then we have the switch over result, and in success we call the delegate. In failure, we also call the delegate, but also we use this process error function that will map the errors that we had in our requirements. So one more thing we wanted to implement is the bounce mechanism. As you can see, it's not so easy. We need to use some dispatch queue, dispatch work item. We need to cancel the previous item. We need to schedule the next one, etc. Not so easy peasy, right? Okay, so now let's see how to do it, all this with the Combine. We still need to have a view controller and text filter because this is how it is. But now Instead of registering for some notifications, what we'll pass to our view model is a text publisher. Um, and this is the first concept from Combine that you should know. And I will lie you a bit, but it's just simplification that I will clarify in few slides. Let's say that publisher is something that is emitting values, okay? So it's kind of like a notification center, okay? So it's just when user is typing, there is like notification that something has changed, and new value has been emitted. And this is all what we need to pass to view model. And now let's go to view model. In view model, we have our property, and it's of type any publisher. I guess I don't need to explain what is type erasure, and you know why it's any publisher, but the protocol is publisher. But what is important here, there are two associated types, string and never. The first type is type of the value that is being emitted. We are here reading from the text field, text, so just string. And the second type is a type of the error that could be thrown by our publisher. And again, we are just reading value from the text field, so there is no possibility for any error. So we pass here never, and this means just simply that there will be never any error in our stream of values. Yeah, so now in this set, we want to register to our stream because we have publisher, we have the stream, and at the other end, there is a subscriber, another concept from Combine that you should know. Subscriber is for subscribing to stream, for receiving values. We can do it, for example, by this function sync, and we pass there a closure that is called every time when there is some value emitted, so we can just consume our values. And as I told you like a few slides ago that I led you a bit, because there is third concept that is called subscription. So publisher is not emitting values, to be honest. Publisher is just creating a subscription that it's passed to the subscriber, so it can subscribe to a subscription, and subscription is the thing that is emitting values. Okay, and I'm sure that you know this from examples of Combine. Like there is always this bag of subscriptions. It's a set of type of any cancelable. Once again, type erasure for cancelable protocol. Why cancelable? Because during the lifetime of our view, there might be some time when we want to decide to stop receiving values. So there is this function cancel to do it. And why we need to store it? Well, publisher creates subscription, subscriber subscribes to subscription, but none of them keep the strong reference to it. So we need to just also keep it somewhere. And we can do it with this simple function store in where we pass a reference to subscriptions, okay? So what next? We wanted to fetch also some data, right? And I told you that in sync, we are receiving values. So you might think that it's good place to call our service, but well, so this is the power of Comet. This is stream of values. So there's publisher, there's subscriber, there's stream, and between those guys, we can put multiple operators. So something that is modifying our value. Okay, so yeah, let's see what we can, how we can use the power of Combine here. Wait, not this cartoon, sorry. Yeah, so we can use a flat map. There are plenty of operators that might be familiar for you from sequences like map, filter, like max, min, count, reduce, or whatever, just name it. But here we will use flat map. Why we will use flat map? Because one more thing to say, that service now, this fetch items function returns publisher. Let's say that's Combine API for networking, okay? So it returns publisher of items. And with simple map, we would just translate text to publisher. But what for us important are just items, okay? So that's why we need to flat map, because it will do the job for us. It will also retrieve values from this publisher of items. Yeah, and let's see how the type of our stream changes. Like at the beginning, it was publisher of string and never, and after flat map, it's publisher of any publisher of array of item and error. Why error? Because now there can be some like network error, decoding error, or something like this. But to be honest, the second type is not as easy as you can see. In fact, it's publishers.flatmap. Each operator returns the type that it has its own type, and it's like in SwiftUI with modifiers. So each next operator is building around the previous operators. Okay, so yeah, here is like publishers flat map, and there is like type of the publisher we had and the publisher we have after this mapping. Yeah, so what next? Yeah, because of this, wait, once again, because now we have this error, our sync function needs to be modified. We cannot just consume value now, because now there is also possibility for the error. So we need to use this version of a sync where it's received completion and receive value. In receive completion can be called in two cases: when there are no more values to be emitted, so it will be called with the completion finished, or when there was some error thrown, then there will be completion failure and there will be no more values being emitted. Okay, so yeah, that's it. And the previous version with sync with just closure was for the publisher would never type as an error. Okay, do you remember the dance with dispatch queues? Here we have also operator for this. Subscribe on is, to be honest, for creating subscription, but also the stream below also will be called on this thread that we pass there. And receive on is also for changing the thread for the operators below. Just easy as that. Yeah, mapping error, there's also operator for this, and it's also easy. We don't need to do it like in the sync function. It's easy. Do you remember the bounce? Like we had to use this dispatch queue, dispatch item, store the reference, cancel the previous, schedule the next one. Here, just simple operator, okay? So we just pass the time, what we want to use for the bounce and scheduler, and that's it. That's all we need to do. It's really simple. Yeah, so finally we can update our UI, and we can do it like in this way how we work with the Swift UI. So let's say that our module is observed object, and we have our properties with published wrapper. And what published wrapper does, in fact, it just creates the publisher. Okay, so you can just have this dollar items, for example, you can write, and then you have a publisher of items. Yeah, so yeah, this is our first stream of values in combine, and it's like, I don't know how you feel about this, but I really like this. This is the declarative way. Each next line show us how our value is modified, and just at the end we have ready in the way how we could use it. Okay, so let's go to the second tail. I'm sure you know this guy. Is Scrooge McDuck, and he has his money bin. So this big building with money inside, and Scrooge is very cautious about his money. It's very important for him to know what happens in his bin, and he knows every coin, he knows every penny. Yeah, so probably he could make a use of some analytics to know what happens inside his building, right? So here are our requirements. We want to collect events by type, let's say timer, like in a time frame, or counter, like how many things happened. We want to avoid duplicates. I'm not sure why, but Scrooge is paying the money, so yeah, he can just make some stupid requirements, right? Yeah, we want to group our events in batches of maximum 20 events. So if we have like 15 events, we will not send them. If we have 21, we will send 20 in one request and one in the second request. We want to send them not less often than every 30 seconds. So if we have only 5 events and 30 seconds left from the last request, we are sending requests. I think it's quite obvious how it works, but yeah, those are our requirements, and we want to know that our solution is stable. So you might think of some unit tests, right? Okay, so let's start. Here we have our basic models, like there is event with a key value, there's event type with two cases, timer, counter, and we have event data, some structure that wraps those two objects. Yeah, and what is important, all of them conform to a quotable. It will be important in few slides. So now let's go to our tracker. We have our simple function send. It takes two parameters, event and event type, and we create our event data. Nothing unexpected till now. Let's add some combine magic, okay? So we'll create internal pass-through subject. What is subject? Subject is the fourth concept from combine that you should know. It's kind of a special publisher, the one that you can send. It has function send, and you can just put some value there that is emitted, okay? And pass through subject works like this: that you send, and it just you send to the subject, and it's sent to subscribers. Nothing happens. There's another version of subject, current value subject, that it keeps the reference to the last emitted value. And the difference is that if we have a subscriber that subscribes after the value has been emitted, in pass-through subject, subscriber will receive nothing. In current value, it will it will receive nothing during subscription, but will receive the next events. For current value subject, it will receive also the last emitted value. Okay, so we have our subject with that takes event data and never, because we are just sending events by our own, so we know that there will be no error to be thrown. Okay, so that's all. And let's make another assumption that we will not send the request in our tracker. There will be another object that will be sending, and here we will just have our stream. We will modify, group everything, etc., and make it ready for the, let's say, tracker sender to send. So we will expose events publisher. And this is like any publisher, and the type is dictionary, where key is event type and value is array of events. So we will just group them by type. Okay, yeah, so this is something what can be subscribed to in a tracker sender. So let's start to connect those two publishers. We just simply assign incoming events to any publisher. We need to erase to any publisher because the types are not the same now. And if you will notice, then the type is still different, so it wouldn't compile. But don't worry, we will get there. Okay, we wanted to remove duplicates. There's, again, simple operator for this. And thanks to that our structs were conforming to a quotable, we can just use it like this, remove duplicates and nothing to be passed. But without this quotable, we would have to pass here closure to compare values. Okay, we wanted to collect events in batches by 20 items. Simple operator, collect, and number of values that should be, and below the collect now we have the array of event data. But there was another this was another requirement that we want to also collect by time, right? It's 30 seconds. It could be tricky. Well, not really with combine. There is also another version of this operator where we can pass strategy, and there is one like by time or count, and we just pass the scheduler, we pass the time and the number of items. Okay, so what next? We want to group our group our events, and let's make it in some pleasant way. So we will create our own operator for stream of values, and we are doing this by creating extension over publisher. And what is important, that the output needs to be equal to the data that will come to our operator. So till now, after collect, we have the array of event data. So this is what we do here. We implement it just by using the another operator map. This is the implementation is not important for this presentation. Important fact is that the result type is what we wanted. It's dictionary of event type and array of events. So now we need to also add the type of the result from our function. And this is something what is familiar to when I showed you with the flat map. Is publishers that map the dot map because we are using map here, and we are passing something what is called upstream. Let's say that itself. So it's something what was be, before map, and the type that we are mapping to. Simple as that, and thanks to that, now we can just use it in our stream. Yeah, and to be honest, that's all what we needed. Our stream is ready. The events are grouped, they are batched, etc. So the events publisher is ready for tracker or sender or something, but we will not care about this now. We want to make sure that our solution is stable. So we want to add some unit tests, and to add unit tests, we need some customization here. So let's add some parameters to our init function. And yeah, let's see how to write some tests for combine. And we are writing this like in a regular way for asynchronous code, okay? So we have our suit. We subscribe to the publisher. We need to store the subscription. So let's assume that in test class we have this bag of subscription, and we just receive this to assign the received values to some variable. And then just regular act. On suit, we had this function send and assert, just regular. We expect that there will be one event be sent after some time. But this test will not pass. So yeah, let's add some completion. This is the regular way of testing combine. We will specify that it should wait 1 second because this is unit test. We don't want them to take too long. And there is expectation, fulfill, and wait for it. And now we have a complete test. But there is also another solution. Okay, so let's go to the another test where we group by count, and we use two max events count 2, and we send 3 events. And now, well, so the previous test was using the tools from the foundation. Now let's use the test scheduler, something what you can just copy from point 3 CO, if I remember well the name. And in our project is already incorporated, and someone just recently merged it into test utils or some other module. Yeah, so it's really easy. Then we don't need to have this expectation. We pass the text scheduler, and then we are just saying in, let's say, assert or act action how many scheduled actions we want to advance scheduler. Okay, so in our cases there was just one scheduled action with advance by 1, and yeah, and that's it. That's all we have. Okay, so the time is running out, so I don't have a time for more things for you. So where you can go from now? Apple documentation is a really nice source of the knowledge about Combine. There are multiple articles that explain everything what you need to know. You can take a look at the list of operators. There are plenty of them, and they are really useful. You can also take a look on some tutorials, like for in Swift by Sandel. He has nice examples of how to use Combine. And obviously, as I told you, I bought a book, so you can also take a look at this one. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, and I think that's it. So thanks. And if there are any questions, then I can answer them.
Thanks, Krzysztof, for this amazing presentation. It's actually one question for you from Jakub Oleszczak, and it
I
sounds
think
like this.
Kuba is the person who had this test schedule merged to our test duties, but okay. Yeah.
Okay, the question is, can we use receive on twice, or have we to use subscribe to use background thread?
Okay. Yeah. To be honest, I wanted to check it. As I understand correctly, it's possible to use it twice. The difference is that subscribe on is also telling us on which thread the subscription is being created. So in most cases, when we use this API like from Foundation or something, probably we don't care about this. But if you write our own publishers, like where we create our own subscription, etc., then maybe it can be important. Yeah, but to be honest, in most cases, probably you could use receive on, and it would have the same result. But it sounds better that you are starting with subscribe on and you finish with the receive on.
Okay, thanks. For now, I don't see any more questions, but please take a look on this dedicated thread after the presentation. Maybe some new ones will appear.
One more thing I
Thanks.
can mention,
Yeah.
sorry,
Mhm.
because like there was the thing that we had last like few days ago in our project, and it's important that, and I forgot about to mention this, like if you are using some references to self, just Wikify, because if not, there will be like reference cycle, and you will just struggle with looking for it. So yeah, sorry, that's it.
Okay, but in your opinion, that was important. I don't know because I do not iOS developer, so I'm trusted you.
Yeah.
uh, okay, so thank you, Krzysztof, once again.